Another. Any other? Good afternoon, everybody. We have a session on IoT standardization and security. oneM2M, the global standard for IoT M2M by Mr. Aurindam Bhattacharya. He is principal consultant and ex-scientist CDoT, New Delhi. First of all, I would like to request IoT President, Dr. Dheeraj Malhotra, to please present his introductory remarks. Dr. Dheeraj Malhotra.
Thank you, Mr. Puri, and I take this opportunity to welcome on behalf of the IoT Society of India, all the wonderful members who have joined us today, and also the speaker, Professor Bhattacharya. Well, IoT and AI are revolutionizing today's world by enabling smarter decision-making and automation. IoT connects devices for seamless data exchange while AI processes this data to create intelligent systems. Together, they drive innovation in industries like healthcare, transportation, and manufacturing, enhancing efficiency, personalization, and real-time problem solving. Well, I warmly welcome this evening Shri Aurindam Bhattacharya, Scientist G from CDoT, New Delhi, to this insightful session. We are honored to have you with us, sir, and look forward to your valuable expertise and knowledge. Over to Mr. Puri. Thank you.
Now I request Ms. Kamakshi Puri. She is the member of IoT Society of India and presently working as AGM at Mumbai, Vodafone Idea Mumbai headquarters. She will present the profile of Mr. Aurindam Bhattacharya.
Thank you, sir. A very good evening, everyone. I would like to take a moment to introduce our speaker, Shri Aurindam Bhattacharya. Shri Aurindam Bhattacharya is a principal consultant, ex-scientist G. CDoT is an industry veteran with more than 36 years of experience in telecom, IT, and IoT. He started his career in ECIL with a mainframe unit and also has handled the design, testing, and development aspects of strategic communication systems for defense sector, specifically Air Force and Army. Therefore, he joined CDoT in 1993 and has handled computing needs of the organization. He has also acted as the solution architect for various projects, CDoT, like Intelligent Networks, Data Clearinghouse, OSS, and CMS, Centralized Monitoring System. He has been an advocate of standardization of M2M IoT communication and has contributed actively in oneM2M, the international standardization body on IoT M2M, where he held the positions of Vice Chair Marker, also contributed in various technical reports, including Chair, Vice Chair positions. He has also been a key contributor to various policy and roadmap documents of DOT, IPv6 roadmap document version 1 and 2, M2M communications roadmap, and 13-digit numbering scheme for M2M, to name a few. As the convener for IoT reference architecture in LITD 28 group in BIS, he was instrumental in publishing the IoT RA standard of BIS 18004 and was also instrumental in the adoption of oneM2M as a national standard in India. He has also led the formulation of the policy document for the standardization of intelligent transportation systems in NITI Aayog. He is also holding the chair position in Security Working Group in TSDSI. For the last 10 years, he has been leading the activities of IoT M2M communication in CDoT. He's also leading various projects on telecom security, like CMSDIU, include CEIR, TAPCOP, ASTR, CIOR, IoT M2M, CIS as the National Trust Center, etc. I would request our speaker, Mr. Bhattacharya, to please address the gathering.
Thanks a lot for this elaborate introduction. So I believe my presentation is visible to you.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, welcome everyone. So this is a presentation that is perhaps the part one of our total program for IoT M2M standardization and security. So I will lay the foundation for the standardization aspect of IoT and how this will pave way to the security aspects of IoT in a comprehensive manner. So, but to understand that security aspect, one need to understand that what is there when we talk about IoT standards. Why we are talking about IoT and its standardization so much? Because IoT have been in existence for many, many years, a few decades maybe. It all started from the factories where sometime during the around 1950 or 60, it was thought that some kind of automation is required in the process industry. At that point in time, the computers were not commonplace, but electronics was. So people started creating some kind of sensor-driven sensors are predominantly transducers. So some transducers were introduced at that point in time to give the information with regards to the processes happening in automation industries. And industries mostly at that point in time were heavy industries. And this gave rise to machine communication, where people felt that this particular information should be directly fed to machines which can take decisions impromptu. Cut to 2020, and we are very much into internet, we are very much into miniaturized devices, we are very much into a commonplace automated autonomous systems. That gave rise to a lot of things happening in the M2M space, and which had become popularly known as IoT, Internet of Things. So if you see in 2020, this particular slide gives you a glimpse that till 2020, there were around 8.74 billion devices which were interconnected. Now the forecast is by 2030, this is going to be 25.4 billion. So just imagine, in so many years, it had reached to 8.74 billion, close to 9 billion. And in the next 10 years, we are going to almost become 2.5 times of what we have connected so far. So it's basically the moment of the inflection point, wherein we are basically going to see a huge surge in the connected devices ecosystem. So you are all perhaps experiencing some kind of a connected system. Those who are driving cars and have subscribed to some kind of a service from their manufacturers are making use of some IoT system. You can see all smart cities nowadays, that's very popular kind of kind of technology implementation that you can see smart street lights. You see a lot of cameras placed at many places termed as smart cameras. In your home also, you have got a lot of automation. So in a nutshell, this sudden spurt of connected device ecosystem is giving a kind of rise to not only a kind of ease of operation, it also along with it bringing in a lot of security aspects or threats to call it. Now, if you simply, ponder that what is IoT, by the way? So predominantly IoT is about putting certain sensors. Sensors are merely transducers, they are electronic devices. They only can give you some electronic information, and that information conversion happens through some device which is an electronics having some kind of a code. Let us call that code as an application A, designated as A. You will have some local network, we call it field area network, home area network, personal area network. Put a gateway, and then there is a wide area network, a communications network through which you send this particular information to an application, which can be in a cloud or which can be hosted in some kind of a server in some facility, some data center. Now, the important thing to note here is that whatever you are measuring by those sensors, those are the physical things. And the digital representation of those things happen in the application, which is there in the cloud or on the server. So this is a very typical architecture of an IoT ecosystem. Looks good. If I talk about an example, so this is a very commonplace example nowadays. Many of you must have experienced some kind of a health band or a health monitoring device. Nowadays, there are so many. A pedometer, smart bandage, pulse oximeter, blood pressure, all can be connected through a mobile device, which can act as a gateway. If you draw analogy from the left-hand side image, and that mobile talks to a kind of cloud-based application, and all your information is going to, so all your physical parameters of your body actually is digitally transmitted to the application at the cloud. This seems okay. Can somebody erase all those lines that have been drawn on this? I think somebody was using it as a whiteboard.
Puneet, can you check who is using this whiteboard?
Yes, sir, मैं देखता हूँ.
Anyway, I'll continue. You can have a look at that. If you see, the architecture is something like this: a device with some application, a local network, a gateway, a communication network. Then there's a business platform where the business application sits. So looks perfectly fine. But the problem is it's one application, one network, one or few types of devices. For a solitary application, there's no problem. But when you talk about a whole gamut of applications being covered by the ecosystem, it's a problem. Because every application now is a very siloed application. For instance, a transport platform, anybody's transport platform, will be very siloed use case. A health platform will again be a silo. And another platform, whatever, metering platform, I think there's some mistake here. For health, it's a metering platform, smart meters. That metering platform also will be a very siloed. Now, any of these three having a requirement of sharing of data or maybe a kind of moving away from vendor lock-in, they can't. So if you are a subscriber to Maruti Connect, having a Maruti, right, having all information pertaining to your data going to Maruti's own cloud, want to share that data with somebody else, you can't do that. I'll come to that slide later. So let me pick a data sharing example. I take the example of a car because that's very commonplace nowadays. Now, earlier it used to be a luxury to have sensors fitted on those cars. But nowadays, I think every car is fitted with a lot of sensors. And the car manufacturers have standardized on the port that is called OBD. Now it is OBD2. OBD2 is there in every car, which gives, when you take your car to your service provider, it takes the data from that OBD2 port using their own local computer. There's a connector. Now, give it a thought that these all cars are fitted with various sensors which send information to the manufacturer. Like when you subscribe to Maruti Connect, they just put a device which has a connectivity is seen and they will take you to. Earlier, it used to be only with BMWs and Mercedes and the likes of those cars, premier cars, which used to send the data back to their manufacturing units at foreign land, right? So they used to get information. But what if that information or the portion of that information is very beneficial for you, for the service provider? Come to think of it, if the service provider gets only a piece of that information, he can plan his logistics in a much better way. He can know that what part of your car is failing, what he needs to be brought into his inventory to serve you, or how many of his customers are actually facing some specific problem, which is a common problem across a set of models. So these informations are very handy. And it's not limited to that. Insurance provider, if they get information, because see, they need to know that whether you are a safe driver or not, and they can give you a very good premium. So you get a lot of benefit. You as a customer can get a lot of benefit being a safe driver. And it also minimizes a lot of fraudulent claims for insurance. So they are benefited and the customers are also benefited. Similarly, on-road assistance. Many of us in the big cities, we subscribe to on-road assistance services. Now, these on-road assistance guys, they have their recovery vans or kind of maintenance vehicles. They can locate their maintenance vehicles in localities where majority of their customers are concentrated by knowing information regarding the location of their customers. So thereby the time to reach to the customers gets reduced. Now the traffic police, they can be benefited, they can redirect the route, they can know where an accident has happened, or they can know where a congestion is there. So all this information which is necessary for that can be obtained through. Now, lastly but not the least, the commuters. Now everybody depends on Google Map. Now, if such a system, any question?
Please mute करो इनको.
Is there a question for me?
No, this is somebody talking in between, not a question.
Okay.
Puneet, mute कर दो.
Right. Thank you. So, what is the problem now? Now, in case you need such a system to exist in the current context where everything is siloed, first is you will have to put as many devices and as many isolated sensors in the car. And secondly, if all those applications become true on a particular car, then to share this information, you will then need a layer on top of it, which will be termed as a management layer. And from there, you will share this information, which is impracticable. Rather than terming it impossible, I'll call it impracticable. Now, what is the way around? This gives rise to this kind of a proprietary siloed implementation of IoT, gives rise to a lot of issues. First is interoperability. You cannot have devices or applications which you like by your choice. So one particular solution, if it is very siloed, you cannot add new devices to it. And new applications to it to interoperate. Data sharing, I already said, because of siloed nature of the application, sharing of data among divergent applications becomes not only very difficult, but almost extreme possible. Then third and most important is vendor lock-in. You get locked to a vendor for life. So if one vendor has given you a solution and you like somebody else's devices or applications, I mean, very useful, very beneficial, or very attractive from the feature point of view, you cannot onboard them without discarding the previous one. And the cost of ownership becomes all too high. Take the example of smart cities, smart street lights. Majority of the smart cities have deployed street lights in an area-based development basis. In certain area, no city will actually deploy the smart street lights in the entire city, right? They will do it in some area or a portion of it. Now, come to think of it, if there is another vendor who's providing a very attractive smart street light solution, and you're not able to deploy it, it becomes very, very difficult. Can you just excuse me for a moment? Having an incessant call. Yeah, Lalit. Hello.
लगता है डिस्कनेक्ट हो गए हैं भट्टाचार्य साहब। भट्टाचार्य आपकी आवाज नहीं आ रही।
I think somebody muted me. Okay.
अच्छा पुनीत।
No issues, no
ये-
issues, no issues. I'm
नो
back.
सर सर कॉल पे थे ना इसलिए
हाँ, 1 मिनट का कॉल आ गया था तो इसलिए I was muted. Never mind. So I talked about vendor lock-in. Then security. See, these siloed systems, they boast about security being obscure, but obscurity is not security, right? Until unless you follow a very standardized, regulated regimen of security practices which are published, you do not know whether that particular system is secured or not. Infiltration can happen at any point of time, and security is a major, most important aspect or most threatening aspect of the IoT ecosystem per se. Because people draw parallels with the cybersecurity thing, but in cybersecurity, the only loss that you can kind of incur is about either identity, privacy information, or theft with regards to money. But in IoT, since it is also linked with critical sectors, there is a direct threat to life as well. So this particular aspect becomes all the more important ingredient for the ecosystem to be standardized, because without standardization, it cannot be ensured that security is in place. Device ownership is another thing where you add accountability to it. Until unless it is standardized, you cannot ensure that who owns it, whether a community owns it, individual owns it, or a particular enterprise owns it, you would not. So KYM, what is important for the connectivity aspect, that you should know your customer. From a IoT M2M aspect, it is important to know that which machine and who owns that machine. Right. Now, there's a lot of non-IoT and IoT kind of association in many use cases. That contextualization of IoT and non-IoT will not be possible if it is not standardized. So typically, to summarize all this, if you see the IoT ecosystem, it looks something like that. At the bottom layer, you have sensors and devices using some kind of a personal area, home area network connects to gateways, and then a wide area networks connect to an application infrastructure platform, wherein you have your business application, which handles your capacity management, resource abstraction, command and control, and business support. Right? So currently, majority of them are very tightly coupled and giving rise to all the issues that I described earlier. Now, coming to the standardization part of it, all this was felt important. And in 2012, before 2012 itself, European Telecommunication Standards Institute, they had taken up the task of standardizing this, and they took up the mantle of standardizing this ecosystem. But they felt that it is a global problem, and it was too huge an issue which to be handled by them alone. And in 2012, they kind of created a partnership program with the help of 7 other SDOs across the globe, like ATIS and TIA from US, HC themselves, TSDSI, Telecom Standard Development Society of India from India itself, CCSA and TTA from Japan, Arab and TTC, CCSA from China, TTA and from Korea, and Arab and TTC from Japan. So all of them together, they started working on a standard called oneM2M. This was a partnership program. The purpose was to reduce fragmentation by joining forces, integrate the existing solutions, and merge the ecosystem. Now, they felt that they should not reinvent the wheel. So they thought that it should be a de jure standard as against a de facto standard. And they will collaborate, their respective members will collaborate on standard. And the focus should be on interoperability. And the competition between different parties would be on the implementation part of it, right? And to reuse majority of the standards. So thereby a lot of other forums, they joined them to make use of those standards in those quarters, those areas, and they gave rise to a set of specifications called oneM2M specifications. Now, these oneM2M specifications later were also transposed in IoT, which was earlier popularly known as CCITT, International Telecommunication Union, their telecom sector, under SG20. The series is numbered as Y.4500.X. Now, the working function of this particular standard was to gather information from all the use cases, all sectors, and all of them are captured in a requirements document that is numbered as TS0002, and that gives way to technical reports. And those technical reports and technical specs are prepared together in close collaboration between 200 plus members who participate and brainstorm to develop these specifications. And these specifications are then put to implementation by different partners. And those implementations are tested by interoperability test events. And there's a robust certification program also backed by Global Certification Forum. Incidentally, CDoT is one of the largest contributors to this particular standard. CDoT is the Center for Development of Telematics, R&D wing of Government of India, Department of Telecom. And we got engaged into this particular standard in 2014, where we were looking to create standards in India. And we felt that there's a lot of good work already being done. And we started participating in it by virtue of being a member through TSDSI. And there we saw that there's a lot of opportunity of us to contribute globally. And we are almost always second and third. We have 500 plus technical contributions to this particular standard. Now, the good part is that unlike other standards, it is not anybody's proprietary solution which is pushed as a standard. Normally what happens is the multinational companies, they develop a product and they take it to standardizing bodies having a lobby of themselves, pushing that as a standard, thereby creating a IP to, kind of earn monetary benefits out of it, having standard essential patents. In this particular case, it is an open standard. Anybody can have a look at the standard. The websites are open. The standards are there for everybody to see. The specifications anybody can download and develop solutions based on this. And, that doesn't mean that there are no standardized essential patents in this. The specifications are not patented. The implementations or the methods of those are patented. So what does the standard talk about? So you have seen the left-hand side architecture which we talked about. So every IoT application has certain things in common. So what it thought is that let us take those common things and put that in a common service layer. We'll call it a common service layer, and let's standardize the interfaces and that service layer and the functions therein. So earlier, all applications, if you recall the previous second slide of mine, where I showed that the digital representation of the things, physical things, were happening at the application alone. Here, the digital presentations of the things, including the semantics of those, are brought to the common service layer. Now, the applications are now stripped off by that or the need for having the digital representations there. So now, what it brings to the table? It brings a lot of things. First is the applications, both at the southbound, that is close to the sensors or the device, become very lean. They don't have to port everything. All that are available as common service function. They can connect to this using standard APIs, standard protocols, and their development time reduces. Also, it gives way to interoperability. Now, whether it is I'll take the example of streetlight again. Now, if you have such an implementation, the streetlight application will use this common service layer and the standards protocol to actually communicate about all those parameters that it is either communicating to or which is receiving as a command. Now, here, they will not communicate to the application, but rather they will communicate in a standard-based way to the common service layer. So if it is since this common service layer has the digital representation, which is in the form of resources, so whether it is a Cisco light, whether it's a Philips light, whether it's a Marvin light, all are lights having a set of attributes, having a set of features, which will then be used by the applications on top of it to give commands to or get status from. So my problem gets sorted out because now I can choose my different types of options available in the market, which are giving me the same or better features. And they are provided, they are all following this particular standard. Now, how it breaks down the silos is this. Now I had showed you smart health, smart transportation, smart metering. If you happen to see carefully that I have given the names of technologies only underneath the service layer. So it is technology agnostic. If you're using LoRa, you are using Sigfox, you are using NB-IoT, or you are using plain Wi-Fi, it doesn't matter, because earlier the siloed application need to know that what technology you are using at the device side. Now you do not require that kind of information at the application layer. So this is the time for change. So earlier, all these use cases required the built up from bottom to up. Everything was done in a very, very siloed manner, right? And now what has given way to is that now connectivity is a commonplace. The data presentation, data analytics, data storage, and then this is the requirement which is very much specific to use cases. But IoT applications, the common part of it can take leaf from the IoT service enablement functions and can deliver. So it becomes vertical agnostic. Every vertical can then develop their own applications if this is given as a standard offering, right? So it is cross vertical. Just to give you an analogy, because at the very outset it becomes a little difficult to comprehend. Just compare this with the Android or the iOS. The modularity of smartphones is a very classic example. Every smartphone has got one thing common in them, that is the operating system. Now, that operating system being a de facto standard, so you can develop applications because those are giving the toolkits for anybody. Even a class 12 student can develop an application, an app on a mobile device, right? And put it in the Play Store. So what does that operating system provide? It provides connectivity requests from application, buffer the messages, optimize and control devices network use, and give what is needed by the applications to actually run the business logic. So business logic is there in the application. Underneath, they are providing the APIs which are there with the operating system. And through that and the connectivity layer which is already there, which the operating system is making use of, you can develop as many applications. This is becoming possible because this operating system gives very standard-based APIs, very commonplace APIs. And the governance is through the App Store. The App Store actually, a regulated App Store can give you applications which anybody can use, right? So that same concept can be applied here in IoT. The service layer provides this, and the field devicer, it stores the data in case of lack of connectivity, security, authentication, authorization, device management, firmware update mechanism, connectivity management, developer API. And connectivity layer, it expects reliable and efficient data transport. And in the IoT application, the measuring of the physical parameters in the form of digital representation and execution of commands. That is all that is needed for the IoT to work. And at the central infrastructure, the core infrastructure, the UI, the presentation of device data, data analytics, etc., and the developer API to control data management, security, device management, and the connectivity management. And here also, the ask from the connectivity layer is the reliable and efficient data transport. So if you happen to see this, this is how. So there are a lot of standards, if you know, service layer standards, right? So those service layer standards are kind of obscure from the developers because they make use of all of them. So the users don't know they are hidden behind the service layer standards because it is providing you the APIs and the interfaces to make use of that, right? So you don't have to code it. So these are the common service functions that kind of constitutes the common service layer. So you have registration. Registration is a necessary requirement for any application to have accountability. So oneM2M has a very kind of strict, I shouldn't say strict, rather very specified method of registration. So every application is getting a unique application entity ID. So without having registered a particular application, one would not be able to communicate. Not only it gives a kind of identity to the application, it prevents fraudulent access. So if you are a authenticated, authorized user of that particular IoT device, you will gain access for communication, otherwise you won't, which is not possible in case of a proprietary solution. Discovery is a feature which allows for discovering the entire set of, it is not discovery in the terms of device discovery. It is a discovery of the entire resource tree. So attributes and functions together, it will be able to discover. Security is an ingrained feature of this particular standard. It provides TLS. You can have a kind of pre-shared key, or you can have a PKI-based mechanism, right? And it can be hop by hop, or it can be end-to-end. So all kind of security provisioning are there, right? So enrollment function and authorization function, how you will enroll yourself, how you will authorize, and only authenticated and authorized communication can happen in a very secured manner. So while I was talking about the data sharing kind of feature part of it, or the data sharing use case, that data sharing also will happen in a very secured manner. So there are very strong access control policies, access control features, which will give you, as I mentioned, if you had noticed, I said that this kind of the representation of the physical things in the digital domain happens in the form of resources and resource tree structure. So every resource is represented by a container. So if you are, say, suppose measuring temperature, so there will be a temperature container, and then there will be a location container with respect to where that particular temperature sensor is, which device it is connected to, which application it is there, right? And then the reading will be there that, okay, this is the reading. And you can store as many instances that you have configured for. Suppose you store 10 such readings. They will be all data containers under that. And it is a very hierarchical structure. So anybody wishes to have information pertaining to the temperature, right? And you, that particular party, you are only interested to give an average temperature on a whole day, you create a resource tree that, okay, this resource tree will have only average temperature in a day. So you calculate the average temperature in a day and put in that resource container and share through very strong access control mechanism that only a average temperature in a day will be there in a particular container. The other application will only have access to that average temperature, not the entire set of resource tree. So when I talked about the example of the car having so many sensors, each one will be having a set of resource trees, and only those which are necessary for that particular application to gain access to will be given access to. So as a consumer, you are in control that what data you want to share. So from the point of view of insurance provider, if suppose you are not happy with, say, ICICI Lombard, just to take an example, I mean, nothing about it, and you want to go to somebody else, some XYZ, then you say that, okay, I don't want to share my information with them, and I want to share my information from now onwards to the other party, right? So you can severe that that information sharing from one to the other. So so that's the set of common service function I was talking about. This I already spoke about, right? So developer interface is this, and which I talked about, the industry collaboration. So these are the different standards which are already coexisting, and oneM2M has got very strong binding or kind of interworking with that. One important aspect that I want your attention to, that oneM2M is very closely interworking with 3GPP machine type communication. So the service capability exposure function of 3GPP, which allows the narrowband IoT, NB-IoT, popularly known, integration with this. So with that narrowband IoT feature, we are capable of reaching out to any NB-IoT device without IP connectivity, that is on a control plane. So you can have a sleeping device sitting somewhere having NB-IoT connectivity. I can do a non-IP data delivery and a device triggering on the control plane. So I don't need a kind of GPRS or a 4G connectivity to reach out to a device or talk to a device. So those kind of feature functionalities are making this a very potent standard. Now, before I talk about this slide, let me tell you, this particular standard is now a national standard adopted by Telecom Engineering Center, Department of Telecom, and it also figures in the Bureau of Indian Standards IS 18004 part 1-1 as a IoT reference architecture. So this particular example gives throws up the concept that it also provides, or rather gives space to multi-provider kind of use case. So what it means is that two different service providers can implement this particular standard using their own infrastructure. So the infrastructure in their core data center is called infrastructure node, INCSE. CSE is common service entity in this particular standard. And the middle nodes are the classical gateways or devices as they are in the standard. ADN is an application dedicated node to which the different devices or the sensors would be connected. Suppose one particular implementation in a city has got one streetlight application and some parking application, smart parking application. The other service provider is providing some smart metering and intelligent transport applications. So data sharing or information exchange can happen between these two service providers as well. Right? So that was my last slide. Thank you very much. We'll talk about the security aspect in my second version of this, if you like this particular presentation. So thank you. Any questions?
Any questions, please? I think if you introduce more and more standards, the cost will increase.
Not really. What actually sorry, I didn't get that question.
But the more and more stringent standards you introduce in a particular device, it will add on to some certain cost, or it's not like this. आवाज नहीं आ रही आप
if you just
we are not able to hear you.
आवाज नहीं आ रही सर
Sir, we are not able to hear you.
I think somebody else is speaking. Am I not audible?
now
No, sir.
Hello?
now
Hello?
Now you are audible, sir. Please proceed.
Yeah. So I was saying this particular standard is a standard which requires the connectivity part and the application part to be standardized. While we say that, a lot of things which earlier the vendors were doing by coding in their own application in the endpoints, right? They will get minimized. The turnaround time will also get reduced. And lastly, but not the least, the necessity of the standard actually is from the taker's side, from a regulator. If you don't have the standard, what are you losing? First of all, you're not having the interoperability. Second is you are logged to a vendor. Third is you are making this ecosystem as insecure, right? And we can go on and on. Now, from a total cost of ownership, if you see the ecosystem, you need to cleanse this ecosystem, right? So it might seem a little expensive at the very outset because this is not for a very siloed application to follow. But this is something which is necessary for this entire ecosystem. This standard is not a mere standard for an endpoint to adopt, because otherwise all such proliferation of proprietary siloed applications will continue. And what you would end up in, that everybody will be replicating the same thing. You will end up paying more. Take the example of smart city, which I took a while ago. So many smart cities, you have defunct smart streetlight solutions. They are defunct now. They're not able to refresh that. They're not able to replace that because that they are logged in with that particular vendor. So once you are logged in, you will end up buying bullets at the cost of guns. Right? If you are having a choice of somebody else, automatically the cost will come down.
Actually, they are कहते हैं कि Chinese product है, cost reduced करने के लिए वो कुछ भी कर सकते हैं. Like that. तो एक तो minimum standards रखना ही.
So and most important aspect is security.
Right.
अगर आप ऐसे ही मशरूम ग्रोथ करवाते रहेंगे IoT सिस्टम्स का, तो आपका पूरा इकोसिस्टम, आप सोचिए एक जगह का, एक किसी भी शहर का आपका स्मार्ट ट्रैफिक लाइट, एक एग्जांपल लेता हूँ, उसको अगर किसी ने हैक कर लिया कितनी जाने जा सकती है,
Right.
right? Standards are required for many aspects, and see, the smart city authorities have already understood this. The point is that they have reached to a point where it is making them very difficult to now retract back because a lot of money has been spent. But they are also thinking, the Indian government has standardized this as a national standard. They have pondered a lot because it's not a very, very easy path to treat. But at the same time, the earlier they decide, the better. Because it is getting even and more murkier the day it passes, every
Right.
passing day.
Right.
Any more questions?
Anybody else, please?
By the way, we are also partnered with Vodafone Idea.
Acha.
So perhaps Ms. Kamakshi is not aware of that. Their Mumbai guys are, they have a Vodafone CDoT IoT Lab where we do the standardization testing and certification.
Right.
So Vodafone is a partner of ours
That's
in
nice.
this particular standard. Yeah.
Anybody else?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yeah, sir.
Actually, I was just going to ask something. Basically, the enterprise department at Vodafone Idea at Mumbai, they have a few products. One of them is a sound box, which gives these real-time intimation of transactions that are happening, and it's in every shop today. So, to implement such, standards, what can be some of the solutions? Are we going the SD-WAN way? Because recently we has started their first Indian-made SD-WAN solution along with Genesis. So to implement standards like oneM2M in IoT for a connectivity security perspective, what are some of the solutions that we might head towards?
Actually, as I mentioned, no, we are completely technology agnostic. Whether you use SD-WAN or you use traditional WAN, right? It doesn't matter to us. Because ultimately through SD-WAN also you are reaching out to some data center of yours, correct? So all these endpoint applications, what will be required to be done is that small box, some firmware change would be required. So now while they are connecting to their proprietary applications in a very proprietary centric manner, no? Protocols they don't need to change because majority of the IoT applications they use either HTTP, MQTT or QoAP. Predominantly MQTT,
Yes.
right? We support all of them. So they will communicate in MQTT. They will be much kind of leaner now. So earlier they were doing a lot of things of handshaking, communicating, keeping a store. Now they will simply connect to the oneM2M platform. CDoT also has one of the best ones in the globe. So anybody's. I'm not here to actually talk about our product as such. I'm talking about standard. So they can choose anybody's box, can connect to that interface, and then they can deploy their applications. I think Dr. Madhukant was
Thank you.
keen to ask a
Yeah.
question.
Yes, sir. So, namaskar.
Namaskar, sir.
And there's some, sir, very nice presentation and quite comprehensive IoT concerns specifically. I'll just add to you told the mushrooming the IoT devices into smart cities and everywhere. Now, in Gandhinagar, there's something called Gift City. The Gift City is supposed to be smart or all respect. So now we supplied something to them also. And one day they were talking that my water management, we have different IoT system from different vendor, my electric is different vendor, my some other administrative different, then cooling thing different vendor. They wanted to generate a report versus like the summer versus winter power consumption, then cloudy versus non-cloudy solar power generation, etc. So they were helpless because they all were different dashboard, different database, different everything different. Now this poor guy is not able to generate a comprehensive report from their all vendors portals. So these are the kind of lack of standards when I told that this will not work. You need your own ERP and let everybody pour data into your ERP rather than you depend on them. Let them put data into your ERP, your database so that you can do a lot of kind of processing. Otherwise, it becomes very, very painful to when you want to correlate. So fault
Yes, sir.
management is different. So there are so many dashboards and none of them are interconnected. So that creates a really havoc. So you told very correctly that the standards and interoperability is very much important. Otherwise, they will not really work for the meaningful purpose what you are targeted for.
So this is the answer to Mr. Puri's question earlier. This is the actual practical problem that Dr. Madhukant had just kind of highlighted. Still, we can solve it, Madhukantji. We can still solve it.
So you should approach
So-
Gift City, Gandhinagar, because they are suffering from a lot of such problem.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Just give
Wonderful.
me a moment. Just give me a moment, sir.
Dr. Rakesh Puri, sir, I applied for IoT membership, but nothing has come out. So I sent an email that I want to become a member and couldn't really get a response. So how to go about?
From this name, I don't think I have received any indent.
Yeah, from
Dr. Madhukant.
Yeah, from ISRO. I am from, I was in ISRO earlier and worked with a lot of.
Right. Because all the mails I have already responded.
So
Dr.
let me,
Madhukant.
yeah, so maybe I'll
you-
send mail again and then because I would pay the life member fee so that no is no generate of renewing all those things.
Please
So-
send your mail on IoT Society of India 1@gmail.com.
I'll do, sir. Right, sir.
That in my notification, the email ID is there. On
I'll
that,
send-
you must have responded on some other
Maybe.
email ID.
Possible, quite possible.
I will respond.
And
Because this is
Madhukantji, we will be eager to help them, Gandhinagar guys. If you please ask them to reach out to me or anybody in CDoT, we can very well can help.
Sure, I'll definitely.
We are a
find out-
Government of India organization, R&D organization. We do not have any, kind of
biasing.
yeah.
Wonderful, very good. Quite
Anybody?
important.
Yes, anybody else?
Yes, sir. Sir, namaskar. Myself Amit Kumar Gupta, Central Bank of India. सर एक ये कुछ छोटा सा क्वेश्चन था कि अभी क्या है कि गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया ने बहुत अच्छा प्रोजेक्ट चलाया हुआ है सोलर पैनल का। तो क्या है, हम लोग सोलर पैनल्स वहां पे लगाते हैं, लेकिन शॉर्ट एक या 2-3 साल के बाद वहां का टेम्परेचर ऑटोमेटिक रीच हो जाता है। तो सर क्या हम ऐसा कुछ मैकेनिज्म डेवलप किया या ऐसा कुछ आईओटीज हैं कि वहां पे लगा के उसको एनालिसिस कर सके और जो वहां पे टेम्परेचर रीच हो रहा है जिसकी वजह से हमारा एनवायरमेंटल इफेक्ट हो रहा है उसको हम कुछ कंट्रोल कर सके आईओटी के माध्यम से या
उसको धक्का कर दे दिया भाई ये मारूंगा।
देखिए अमित
जी सर।
सोल्यूशन प्रोवाइडर्स तो बहुत होंगे इस चीज के, है ना। लॉट ऑफ हमारे ही बहुत पार्टनर्स हैं जो जिनको हमने स्टैंडर्ड्स बेस्ड। एक मिनट, somebody is incessantly so sorry. Yeah. So Amitji, what I was telling is, there will be many players who can provide you solutions for your problem, and it's not very difficult. It's not very difficult. Getting the temperature is very easy. Now, controlling that temperature might be slightly difficult depending upon the ergonomic of that particular scenario. And I know a lot of guys who can. Hello.
आवाज आ रही।
Okay. It takes some time, it seems. I'll repeat what I told Amit. Amitji, there are a lot of companies which are providing solutions which can come to your aid to provide solutions like that. You just take my contacts. And Puriji is having my contact. So I think you can reach out to me. I can get you connected to our partners who can provide solutions for you. And maybe you can have a direct interaction from them. I have to get it sorted out. It's not a very big problem to be sorted out. It will be done.
sir.
But CDoT is not into application domain. We don't enter into the consumer space. So solutions will be coming from third party. We provide standard-based platform and we provide technology.
ओके सर एक इसमें प्रॉब्लम्स और भी आती है आईओटी बेसिकली सर क्या कहते हैं एनर्जी कंजम्पशंस की आती है हम जो स्मॉल बैटरीज होते हैं जैसे डाटा ट्रेवल करते हैं तो सर अभी क्या है कि एक स्मार्ट सिटी का लाइव प्रोजेक्ट चल रहा है उसमें क्या है कि जो हमारे नाला नाला होते हैं अंडरग्राउंड वाटर्स होते हैं तो आपने देखा होगा बहुत जगह सिटी में मेन होल खुले होते हैं तो अभी एक नया कॉन्सेप्ट बिल्डअप किया गया है जो मेन होल खुले होते हैं उसके चारों तरफ हमने आईओटीज लगा दिए लगाने के बाद क्या होता है वो देखते हैं कि उसकी कुछ डेस्ट को काउंट करते हैं काउंट करने पर चल जाता है कि हमारा मेन होल खुला है बंद है उसकी इन्फॉर्मेशन इमीडिएटली लेते हैं ताकि बरसात के समय होने वाले इंसिडेंट को बच सकें या कोई भी रात के समय कुछ ट्रबल हो रहा हो लेकिन अभी प्रॉब्लम क्या हो रही है कंजप्शन की कि उनको हम शॉर्ट डिस्टेंस के लिए यूज करें लॉन्ग के लिए नहीं पर तो ऐसा कोई स्टैंडर्ड्स है या ऐसा कोई बैटरीज है जिसको हम यूज करके मतलब कि लॉन्ग टाइम तक उसको यूज कर सके
देखिए ये बहुत सारी चीजें इसमें लॉन्ग टाइम बैटरीज तो बहुत हैं मतलब बैटरी लाइफ की अगर आप बात कर रहे हैं तो डिपेंड करेगा कि कम्युनिकेशन मैकेनिज्म क्या रखना है फिर आप मैनहोल्स की बात कर रहे हैं मैनहोल्स नॉर्मली कई बार ट्रांसपोर्टेबल रोड्स के ऊपर मैनहोल्स बने होते हैं जिसके ऊपर से हेवी व्हीकल्स भी मूव करते हैं तो प्रॉब्लम का पैरामीटर सिर्फ एक नहीं है प्रॉब्लम के पैरामीटर कई सारे हैं तो ये मतलब देयर इज नो मदर ऑफ ऑल प्रॉब्लम्स का काइंड ऑफ वो नहीं है ये पर्टिकुलर लोकेशन पर्टिकुलर यूज के एरिया को देखते हुए सोल्यूशन निकलेगा इमीडिएटली कुछ बताना आपको डेफिनेटिव बताना थोड़ा गलत होगा राइट सोल्यूशन डेफिनेटली होंगे इनके बहुत नीश प्लेयर्स हैं आप कहाँ बिलोंग करते हैं कौन सी सिटी में
सर मैं यूपी में रायबरेली सर
रायबरेली में I can ask somebody to reach out to you to find out a solution for you.
एक्चुअली ये हमारे यहाँ के एरिया के आसपास की प्रॉब्लम है तो हमने सजेस्ट किया था वहाँ पे अपने नगर
ये
पालिका
नहीं है
को
प्रॉब्लम सब जगह की है आपके आसपास की नहीं ये प्रॉब्लम सभी जगह की है कहाँ की नहीं है प्रॉब्लम है बाकी सब जगह ये विल होना चाहिए पॉलिटिकल और इवन तो कई बार कॉस्ट प्रोहिबिटिव हो जाता है इसको करने में तो वो नहीं किया जाता बट सोल्यूशन कुछ ना कुछ तो निकलेगा ही अगर वहाँ आपने इनिशिएटिव लिया हुआ है तो डेफिनेटली टेक्निकल सोल्यूशन होगा अगर आप ये आपके कॉन्टैक्ट्स होंगे पुरी जी के पास पुरी जी मुझे भेज दें या मुझे मेल कर दें मेरा मेल आईडी बहुत सिंपल है aurindam@cdot.in aurindam@cdot.in वो आप भेज सकते हैं मैसेज भेज सकते हैं और मेल भेज सकते हैं मैं चैट बॉक्स पे लिख दे रहा हूँ अपना मेल आईडी आप you can reach out to me send a mail and yeah I'll provide somebody to help you
okay thank you sir thank you sir.
Pleasure.
Anybody else? I think that's all for the question answer sessions. Thank you, Mr. Bhattacharya.
Thanks
Now
a
I
lot.
request Ms. Shivanshi Puri Kataria to please present vote of thanks.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, respected speaker, Shri Aurindam Bhattacharya, our senior IoT members, IoT professionals, participants and friends. It is both an honor and privilege to deliver the vote of thanks in today's illuminating session on IoT standardization and security. On behalf of the IoT Society of India, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to all who have contributed to make this webinar a success. First and foremost, a sincere thanks to our distinguished speaker for sharing his invaluable insights into oneM2M, the global standardization for IoT, a truly groundbreaking framework that is not only shaping the future of IoT, but also setting the stage for secure, interoperable, and scalable system across the globe. Your deep dive into the intricacies of the standardization and security has provided us all with a clearer understanding of the critical role oneM2M plays in enabling seamless machine-to-machine communication. We are grateful to our industry expert who has showcased how IoT standardization is the bedrock of a more connected, efficient, and secure world. From the discussion on the securing IoT devices to the importance of global collaboration in harmonizing standards, today's session has offered us all a more forward-looking view of the possibilities and challenges ahead. We are thankful to the management committee and volunteers for your efforts behind the screens. Events like this require meticulous planning, and your hard work ensured that everything ran smoothly from start to finish. Special thanks to Shri Puneet Pandey, Secretary, IoT Society of India, Lucknow chapter, for providing technical support in organizing the webinar. A big thanks to all of you, the participants who joined us today with such enthusiasm and engagement. Your presence and the question raised during the discussion have shown that the future of IoT is indeed in good hands. It is through platforms like this that we come together to shape a more secure and standardized IoT environment, ensuring that our interconnected future is both innovative and resilient. As we wrap up today's session, let us remember that the work on IoT standardization and security is ongoing. The collaboration between educational institutions, industries, government, and organizations is crucial in realizing the full potential of IoT while safeguarding privacy and security. I encourage everyone here to stay connected, stay engaged, keep the conversation going, continue pushing the boundaries of what's possible in the realm of IoT. Let today be a reminder that we are part of something truly transformative, and together we are paving the way for a smarter and secure future. I would like to extend thanks again to the professionals and participants who have joined this webinar from various institutions and corporate organizations from various states across India. I thank them for their support, which makes events like this possible. Their commitment to advancement of IoT ecosystem is instrumental in fostering discussions that drive innovation and adoption across industry. Thank you all, and I look forward to seeing you here again and take the next steps in this exciting journey with us. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you. Puri ji, आप muted.
Arindam sir,
Anji.
we look forward to your next presentation on security as well.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Arindam sir, thank you.
Somebody was asking for PPT, and this entire recording is available on YouTube. And I think that's all for this session. And with the permission of the President, IoT Society of India, Dr. Dheeraj Malhotra, I would like to close the session. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Mr. Arindam. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thanks.